Hello, everyone. I'm Jeff Steck from Tylerica Marketing Systems out of Austin, Texas. And today I'm joined by Ian Kentel from Outsource Marketing in the Toronto area, Paul Barthel from Changescape Web in the St. Louis area, and Apoorv Dwivedi from Fixer Marketing out of Kelowna, British Columbia. Ken Tucker from Changescape Web isn't able to join us live today, but he has recorded some clips for us. And our topic today is omni-channel marketing. We've mentioned omni-channel several times in the past, so we thought it would be good to dedicate this podcast to exploring it further. We plan on going to Ken for the first question, and he's recorded his clip. So the question for him is, let's start with omni-channel marketing and talk about what it is and how it's different from multi-channel marketing.
So let's talk about the differences between omni-channel marketing and multi-channel marketing. They're subtle, but important to understand. So omni-channel marketing is really an integrated approach where a company provides customers with a seamless experience across all channels, both online and mobile app, social media, offline, and even in their physical locations. Multi-channel is a little bit different. Omnichannel focuses on a cohesive customer experience across these platforms. Multi-channel is really about interacting with customers through multiple channels, and it can be both direct and indirect, but it's really giving the customer the choice and allowing them to engage in the brand in the way that they find to be most convenient. So I think the big difference here is really that omni-channel marketing is about integrating and having a cohesive experience across channels centered around the customer's buyer's journey, or as we use the marketing hourglass and duct tape. Multi-channel marketing, on the other hand, is about leveraging each channel independently to reach and engage customers. Now, I think, I know you guys are going to get into this a little bit more, but I think, really what's fundamentally key here is the business has to be honest with what they really want to accomplish. And if you're looking at an SEO strategy, you need to be doing omni-channel. If you're looking for a lead generation strategy that's really pure lead generation, it can be multi-channel. And that could be running Facebook ads and Google pay-per-click ads, maybe Yelp ads, LinkedIn ads, whatever is appropriate for your business. But it's going to be much more of a one-dimensional thing with the focus of generating immediate results with paid ads, but realizing that you're not building equity in the channels that you're creating to deliver value over the long haul. So it's an expense as opposed to an investment. Omni-channel can include both expenses and investments. And so I think it's really important for businesses to realize that. And look, not every business can afford omni-channel, and not every business should do omni-channel if they're, depending on the nature of their situation. I mean, if your primary business is getting business from word of mouth referrals, then that may be the channel that you need to leverage. And in that case, it's not a paid strategy. And you just need to make sure that you're maximizing that out. And you might want to think about having an alternative in case, there's a situation that happens where, those referrals dry up. But anyway, I'm a huge fan of omni-channel marketing. I think it's, for many customers, it's absolutely the right way to go. But I think you need to work with a true marketing strategy person who has deep understanding across multiple marketing solution sets, because otherwise you may fall victim to tool vendors who are going to sell you a product that's really good for a channel or maybe even a couple of channels, but it's really not truly an omni-channel approach where you're focused on that true buyer's journey. You're really probably only focused on, bottom of the funnel, which In some cases, depending on your financial situation and, the amount of money that you have to invest, that may be the right way to go. But I highly encourage every business to try to get themselves positioned to really be able to do an omni-channel marketing approach.
I think it was a good overall general definition. There's probably a lot of things we can get into and unpack from that. If you guys have anything you want to jump in on, feel free. Some of the questions I have that I think our audience might have is, is it different? Do I have just one omni-channel experience for all of my clients, or how does it relate to the clients I'm going after? And then I think Ken made a really good point about, the multi-channel, you can get drawn in by specific tool vendors, platform vendors, but they're not necessarily considering working together. So which direction do you guys want to go? Do you want to respond to anything Ken said or jump into those first? What say you?
Ian, I think you're muted there.
That's super helpful. Thank you, Apurv.
It's on a Zoom call without someone being
great
muted,
things.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, I would just add that, taking a step back, the word omni actually means all, right? And I think there's two sides that a business should consider when they're thinking about all channel marketing or omni-channel marketing. And that's the consumer side. So what channels, what consumers are the buyers using? What does all channel marketing mean to them? And then all channel marketing to the business, because I think I think Ken really laid it out nicely in that not every business necessarily should be on all channels, especially if budget is a consideration, which it usually is. So I think it's important that you can kind of take the approach of omni-channel marketing from the channels you as a business choose and select. And I think that's different than what a lot of people understand omni-channel marketing to be. And I think the key to me about this is creating a seamless and streamlined communication path with the consumer or the buyer so that the channels that are available to them, they see it as there's no gaps, there's no hiccups, there's no real pauses. That if they are communicating with you as a business and you've offered several different channels to them, that is seamless. Meaning, so say somebody walks into your store, they're interested in a product, you offer to do a demo of the product. You take down their information, you give them the demo of the product. This might not be a great example, but then you want to reach back out to them if it's a long-term sale, right? So then you would, potentially send them something in the mail. You would potentially do a follow-up phone call. You would have communications with them, and you would need systems and processes in order to make that seamless. So, Bob, the salesperson, isn't sounding as if you've never had a conversation with this person before, which will put a hard stop to the communication.
Yeah, I think that's a key, Ian. As you're talking, I was nodding my head. Yeah, if I've already gotten a product demo, don't send me an email saying, "Hey, would you like a demo?" Right? It's got to be
Right.
that cohesive, mapping the customer journey through, and not all operating just different tactics operating independently.
Yep.
Any thoughts, Apoorv?
Yeah, I mean, so Ian said something there, not every business needs to be on every channel. And I totally agree with that. Um, that said, I think I don't even know why there's a debate that businesses should be on multiple channels. Like multiple channels should be the default for good marketing, right? It's following the customer where they are and using whatever combination of channels you need to make sure that your message is reaching your audience and you're standing out. And you're doing that in a way that um, uh, basically shows that you kind of integrated with your knowledge of the consumer, or if it's a business buyer, whoever in the stage that they're at, right? So you don't look like you're confusing yourself or them along the way. But yeah, no, I think absolutely, it's not all businesses need all channels, but all businesses should be using as many channels as it takes to make sure that their message resonates and stands out.
Mhm. Paul?
No, I think the points that were touched on kind of leads into the next question.
All right. Are we ready to move on then?
Yep.
Sure thing.
All right. So, Paul, the next one is yours then. How relevant is omni-channel marketing to small or medium businesses?
It's really relevant. And, you know, a lot of small businesses think that they can't afford it. It's only for bigger businesses. It's complex, and there is some complexity involved in it. But, something we always talk about is strategy first. And this goes back to some of the points everyone made, is that you have to have a strategy, and not all businesses, when I say that strategy, you need to figure out what channels are your ideal clients on. And those are the channels where you need to so if your ideal clients aren't on Pinterest, then don't spend a lot of money and time on Pinterest or LinkedIn, whatever. If your clients and ideal customers aren't on a certain channel, you pretty much need to have a presence, but don't focus on that. And that goes back to strategy and identifying who your ideal client is and what platforms they're on. And I don't think it's a debate anymore. Your clients are going to be on these different channels. So let's say you're a siding company. You can have clients from 25, 30 years old up to 65 or 70 years old. Okay, so they're going to be on different channels. So it's not an option. You have to be where your customers are, or where your potential customers are. So with the right strategy, it can be done. I mean, I'm not going to say it's cheap or inexpensive. You are going to have to spend some money, but it can be done affordably, and it can help you compete with bigger companies, and it can also lead to increased conversions and increased customer loyalty, because we've talked about this in the past. Look, the customer's in charge. This isn't like 20, 30 years ago where you had a couple channels out there and you could dictate the buyer journey, and that's not the case anymore. And if you are not communicating with your customers and potential customers on the platform or the channel that they're on, they'll just move on because they have options and they know they have options. And by the time a customer has contacts your business, they've already done a bunch of research. They've probably already eliminated 15 different companies, and you made it to the short list. And so you better consider that and communicate with them on the channel or the platform where they are.
Porv, Ian, you want to jump in?
Yeah, and one of the things I tell folks all the time is, to use another analogy, is you fish where the fish are, right? If the fish aren't in a particular location or side of the pond or whatever, there's no point in casting your fishing line there, right? So you want to find where the fish are, and that's where you want to fish. And I think that's kind of like the whole principle behind what Paul is talking about there, right? Is use the channels that make sense for your audience. So if they're on certain channels or platforms, that's where you want to be. If they're not on certain channels or platforms, don't waste your time. There's no fish, they're not going to bite. You're just wasting your time.
Yeah, one of the things that I get really excited about, and it's so, even though I said like not every business needs omni-channel marketing, I think the part that gets me really excited right now is some of the technological improvements that are happening. And we're going to get into tools later on, but just at a high level, the technological improvements happening in some of the CRM marketing automation tools really get me jazzed up, because what they allow you to do as any size business is to be accessible on all channels. So even though we're lasering our focus on where our ideal clients are, and we should be, there's some of these new tools make it totally seamless for you, for the consumer, and for your team to support it in order to support, every possible communication channel, basically all in one tool. And it's not just tool centric. You have to have the right people, you have to have the right systems and processes in place in order to manage those communications, of course. But up till now, it was very difficult to do this, right? You need to have your Facebook Messenger open, you need to have your Google Business Profile. It was untenable for most businesses, especially small businesses, to do this. But now with some of these technological advancements, plus with the improvements and the integrations of AI, artificial intelligence, in some of these tools, it's just opening some doors that didn't exist, especially for small businesses previously. And that's pretty exciting to see in the industry.
So it sounds like you're talking about a CRM with a unified messaging system.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah, it's my thoughts as all of you were talking, and Paul's answer especially, the going back to what Ian said, Omni means all. It does, but it doesn't mean all available. It means all that matter to your clients. So we want to be, again, tying it back to what you guys said, meet your clients where they are. And when we talk about ideal client personas, most businesses have more than one. So you may have several different definitions of what an omni-channel presence looks like for each of those clients. But it's use the tools that are available, integrate them well together so that you don't have those disjoints of what a multi-channel approach might be of, hey, I was just in the store, I saw the demo, and then I get an email said, would you like to sign up for a demo? No, you need to integrate all the information available, probably through a CRM where you're tracking where each person is in their buyer's journey and what they need next, through your process where you lead them down the path that really it's you lead them down the path they want to go on, right? And that's where the strategy and the ideal client research comes from, knowing what those paths look like. People want to buy things, but they don't like being sold to in general, unless it's the style they're looking for, right? That's the path they want to be on. So how do you use the tools, and the newer tools especially are more helpful with that to facilitate that overall customer experience in the buyer's journey, to get them from A to B. We ready to jump to the next one, or any other thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think we're ready.
Sounds like we're over to Apoorv then. Apoorv, what are the benefits of adopting an omni-channel marketing approach?
So everyone's been talking about omnichannel and what it is. I think, and I said this already before, but I think omnichannel is the default for good marketing, right? So good marketers use omnichannel, and the reason why I say that I think it's the default for good marketing is because customers don't just use a single channel or a platform, right? So all of us are duct tape marketing consultants. We talk about something called the buyer's journey, which is essentially just following the customer journey. So the customer, what are all the different channels and what are the steps that they're going through that they need to become aware of your business? They become aware that there's a solution to a problem that they have. They become comfortable that you can actually provide that solution to that problem. They become comfortable that they can trust you and that you're credible. There's some type of incentive or call to action for them to move forward and make that purchase, or at least the next step in that process. So, if you kind of break down all those steps in the buyer's journey, it's omni-channel is about matching the message and the channels to the stage that the customer is in. So, good marketers have known this for a long time, right? It's not just about your message, it's about getting your message heard and repeating it enough times so that the customer remembers. Way back in the old school days, like Mad Men and TV advertising from like the 60s, 70s, 80s, there was two metrics that they looked at: reach and frequency. So reach was the size of the audience, frequency was how many times you repeated your message. So even going back 30, 40, 50 plus years, good marketers knew that you need to repeat your message. And the more often you repeat your message, the more likely it is to be heard by the customer. Omnichannel takes that a step further and says, okay, not only are we repeating the message, but we're going to repeat that message across different platforms, right? And the reason why that's important is if you take a look at people and how people learn and how people communicate, everyone's different. But there's generally kind of a few different buckets. There's people that are visual, there's people that are auditory, and there's people that use their senses or are kinesthetic. So if you can match your message or repeat the message in different ways so that people see it visually, some people they get the auditory message, they hear it, some people there's kind of more of that sensory kinesthetic side to it. The more combination that you can do of that, the more successful you're going to be throughout delivering your message and taking customers through that journey pipeline. Now, sounds complicated, but it really comes back to, at the end of the day, understanding your customer. So who is your target customer, and being able to pick and select those channels that are going to work to deliver your message out to customers. So, I mean, if you think about everything I just said there, frequency, repeating messages in different formats and styles for different types of communicators and different types of learners. If you're doing that and your competitor is only doing a single digital channel, say on Facebook or Instagram or whatever, you're just gonna your message is just going to resonate so much better than the competitors out there. And so that's kind of the key benefit with omnichannel is when you're doing that, you're repeating the message, the customer's hearing it, seeing it, feeling it, and you're just going to be a lot more successful than the other firm out there, the competitor out there that's not doing that, that's just focusing on a single channel. And I mean the data behind it absolutely supports it as well, right? So yeah, there's more steps to it. It's not as easy to put together, but if you understand your customer and you can put that in place, you will see the results.
Ian, Paul?
I think it's such a good it also kind of coincides with what I've been thinking a lot about lately, which is what Jay Baer talked about on our podcast a while back. And that's just really the speed to win, which was all about how responsive are we as businesses to our prospects and our customers. And I think it's so important to understand that the expectations of responsiveness have grown dramatically over the years, but especially since COVID. And that in order to be a responsive business, you really do have to take an omni-channel approach. And that if you take that, and if you're accessible and responsive, and you are there to lead and guide people in their buying decisions, you will win over your competitors who are stuck doing business in their old ways, I think.
If I try and tie a few things together, the buyer's journey in the duct tape marketing world, we talk about the marketing hourglass, that going from no to like to trust to try to buy and then expanding back out with repeat and refer. You're going to be more effective doing that with stronger relationships, right? I remember back early in my sales days, we talked about the little R relationship, which is a very transactional relationship, and the big R relationship, which was a much deeper, more loyalty-based relationship. And I think that's what we all want to strive for in our businesses, right? We want the big R, the capital R, building strong relationships. And when you go omni-channel, you're doing more than just meeting people where they are. You're matching with their styles, with how they want to get information, with the different approaches, and you're carrying the consistency of messaging and history along with it. And that can be very powerful, and you're going to be much more successful than a business that doesn't. Paul, what thoughts do you want to add?
Well, I think, look, we live in an always on, always connected world. And like Ian said, that expectations of the customer as far as speed of response has change, even if it's an automated response, after hours kind of thing. And I think what small businesses need to realize is it used to be that those expectations that people had were really for bigger businesses. They expected a bigger business to be responsive 24/7. And they didn't expect that nearly as much for smaller local businesses, but now they do. Like I said, even if it's an automated response, that expectation is still there. And if you don't respond quickly, and I mean within a matter of minutes, and that's where the automated response comes in, they'll just move on. And that, I think a lot of small businesses don't realize that expectation is there of them as well.
Mm-hmm. All right, ready to move on to the next one? All right, that's me. The question is, how can a business get started with omnichannel marketing? Maybe it seems obvious, but take inventory, right? Understand your customers, take inventory of what you know about your ideal clients, what you know about your ideal client personas, where they are, how they want to get information, how they like to be communicated with, what they want to hear, what they need to hear. And then look at the channels that are available. What do you have available now? Things that you're currently using in your business, or maybe have set up and just need to be integrated with other things and maybe modified a little bit. But make sure you're mapping that out and using them appropriately. Some of the critical tools that you need, we've already mentioned CRMs that let you keep track of multiple conversations on multiple channels. You want to integrate to your Google Messenger, your Facebook Messenger, your email flows, any text flows. I think all of us, work with or maybe even offer a CRM that does that. So if anyone wants more information, certainly contact us. We can talk about that. You also need to figure out what's working and what's not. So that means analytics tools, right? You've got to integrate to your Google Analytics and your Google Search Console, your Facebook Insights, all of the different tools that are available to let you know that the things you're doing with customers are being well received or not well received. And of course, you can always ask, periodically surveying. Now, I personally find it a little annoying when every interaction I have with a company ends in, "Can you tell us how we did?" I find that a little bit needy. Maybe it's just me, but at the appropriate time in the appropriate places, certainly asking and getting that feedback is important. Marketing automation platforms, social media platforms, ad management platforms, all of these tools will give you information about how your clients are working through your omnichannel path or paths that you set up for them. They're going to track your interactions. They're going to track the preferences and what they respond to. I think a common challenge can be integrating these things all together, and that's already been hit on a little bit. It seems like you almost need a PhD in computer science sometimes to integrate this API and that webhook and everything, but it's worth doing because it gives you access to the information, the insights you wouldn't otherwise get. So if that's not your forte, it's not what you want to do, find somebody who can do it for you. Just don't say, "Oh, I'm not going to do that," because it doesn't matter. It's like saying, "I'm not going to get online. I'm just going to keep advertising in the yellow pages because I don't like online. It's too hard to figure out." You can't survive that way anymore. So if you truly want to push into omnichannel and use that approach to strengthen those relationships with clients and make the paths more effective to get them where you want them to be, then you're going to have to either do it yourself or find somebody who can help you do it. But that doesn't mean that even though Omni means all, you have to start with all. You can build into it. Start by focusing on the things that matter, the things that are most important to ideal clients and the things they'll respond to, and then build out the rest. And you may even find some things that you thought you needed to build out, you really don't. But the key is, how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time? Start where you can, start with the things that matter, and then grow into it. But always, always, always take it back to your customers and their buyer's journey. Remember, it's their buyer's journey, not yours. As soon as you say, "Well, I'm going to tell them how they need to," no, I mean, get it from them, understand where they are, where they want to be, and how they want to get there, and then your path is to lead them there, not to say, "Well, you have to go a totally different direction." So it's a combination, but start with where they are, what they need, where you want to get, and then start building it out. But make sure you build consistent messaging and branding across the channels. That's one of the big differentiators between multi-channel and omni-channel.
And
Guys?
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, guys, open up. What I hate getting on a big ramble like that. So.
Oh no, so something you said, and I think it's, you talked about I agree with the surveys about don't send out a survey with every single interaction. I agree with that, but I think that the surveys and the customer relationship, as you talked about it, the big R and little r, I think that's going to become more and more important, because in this move towards privacy that we've all seen and being anonymous and cookieless world that we are moving into, pretty much have moved into, the analytics data has become less specific, if you will. It has become broader. And I think that's where these surveys and customer communication and customer relations are going to become more and more important if you really want specific data on how you're doing and where you can improve.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and let's not fool ourselves. The surveys are there. Like, I've worked in multinational businesses and small businesses alike, and in both of those cases, the surveys are there to serve a purpose for the business, not the customer. The surveys are there because the business has lost there's a huge relationship gap now between the business and the consumer, and they're trying to really understand, like, what does our customer actually think about us? There was a day when businesses were small enough, and there still is a day today with small businesses, that we should know our customers really well. Of course, the bigger the business you get, the harder that becomes. And that's where surveys start to take a place, and a very important part and place in the business. But like, the business should never lose sight that the whole point of it is to build a relationship. And that's essentially what omni-channel marketing is about. It's about creating this seamless integration of communication channels to make the relationship stronger, not to diminish it. And yes, we will use the tools as best as we can to aid our people in serving our clients better and easier. But man, businesses often take a lot of shortcuts. And just your example of, hey, we set up this survey to go out every time we communicate with the customer. You see this in the big telecoms a lot as well. Like, how were we today? Well, you stunk, so don't ask.
But tomorrow, how are we today?
Well, you should tell them
today
that.
You're okay.
I tell them that.
Yeah, I think survey, I don't want anyone to misinterpret what I said. I think surveys are important and they have a place. I think when they're,
and I do too,
when they're not used appropriately, when they're abused. Like, I literally have one company I work with that every single interaction, I get an entirely separate email asking me to, so A, I have to, process that email, and then B, it's like, no, does every interaction I have with you really require feedback? Like I said, it seems a little needy. But to me, when we talk about omni-channel and about it being strengthening the relationship and building the process, it's a detractor. I actually get annoyed, and my opinion of that company goes down. Now, I'm still working with that company because I like their product, I like what they do, but it lowers my opinion of them a little bit, if that makes sense. So I think, again, it's important, but do it right.
Yeah, I think that's true of any communication channel, because you see it with email. There's some, some companies out there, some businesses, that they'll send you 2 or 3 emails a day. I don't mean a week, but a day. And it's like, all you're going to do is piss people off. Okay, you're not helping yourself when you do that.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's so, to take it back, that point back to the omni-channel approach. If I have the opportunity to say, hey, don't send me an email every day, send me one once a week, send me one once a month. Now you're catering to my preferences and how I want to be communicated with, and meshing that into your channel. But if I don't have the choice, it's all or none. It's like, well, I wouldn't mind getting the information from you. I just don't need to see it every day. I did an Alaska cruise. My wife and I went on an Alaska cruise in June of last year, and I get daily emails from the cruise company. Now, how often do they think I'm going to take a cruise? at some point in the future, we probably will do another cruise and make cruise with that same company, but I don't need a daily email from them.
But they know that every day you're thinking about going on a cruise. You want to be on that cruise.
It's also a numbers game, right? And that's where I think you've got to be a little bit careful. I think that technology and the things you can do with technology has maybe translated some things into numbers games. Ian, you talked about businesses knowing their customers and understanding their customers. And I remember an ad, I think it was an airline probably 10, 15 years ago now, I was talking about with the rise of all the technology, we've lost sight of our customers and who they are. So the manager starts handing out tickets, go meet your customers. Of course, it was a promotion for the airline. But I think that point is the personal touch and the human touch still is important, even though it's omni-channel. The human touch and human interaction is one of the channels, right?
I think that's so important, right? Is not losing sight of that human touch, right? So it's easy
Yeah.
to get buried in all these different channels and these complicated marketing strategies and campaigns and trying to execute that. But at the end of the day, for most businesses, and particularly most small businesses, that human touch is critical. And that's going to be one of the key differentiators.
Yeah. So again, it's one of the channels, and it could even be triggered by technology, right? In a CRM, you could have a reminder to, hey, it's been X days since you talked to this client. Call them up, see how things are going. Are we ready to move to the next one? I think it dovetails into this pretty nicely, but I don't want to cut anyone off. We good to go?
Yeah,
I think so.
Ian, the next one's yours then. What are some of the challenges around omnichannel marketing?
Yeah, I think you've raised some of them already. One of the want to raise though is I don't know a better term for it, but like software confusion. So you talked about how integrating everything and having a CRM system is really important, but I get so frustrated by businesses that get wooed or the sparkly lights of bullet points in a sales presentation tell them that there's one bullet point that says omni-channel marketing or something. I see this all the time in dental marketing. So they have practice management software, which is really the main software they rely on for managing the practice. And there's always a few bullet points about marketing, and so they feel like, okay, we're in good hands, we can do our marketing through this software. And then they learn that you can't do what we want to do to be effective through this software. So and a needs analysis is the solution to that. Like, understand what your needs are today, what you're trying to accomplish, and try to foresee, with all the trends that are going on, what your needs will be tomorrow. And then just make the best decision you can. But just to talk about really what that challenge is, when you look at all of the different moving parts that make up an omni-channel approach today, they include things like your customer relationship management software, your CRM. So how do we manage the relationship with our customer and track it? Service delivery systems, practice management systems, email marketing, SMS texting and direct messaging with social networks, website inquiry forms, call recording and tracking, calendars and appointment scheduling, proposal management, bookkeeping and invoicing, project management. Like it's endless of the touch have with prospects and customers, right? So not every software is going to be able to do everything, but you want to make sure that you're choosing something that's going to, again, meet your needs today and meet your needs tomorrow. But the first step is to really understand, first of all, what are our needs, and doing that before you get dazzled by software demos. I think another challenge is, and this is often overlooked because we live in such an online world today, but you should not forget that for many businesses, you have this coalition of online marketing and offline marketing. And sometimes your offline marketing is just as relevant, or needs to be just as relevant, as your online marketing. But you need to integrate those somehow in the eyes of the consumer, and also in how you communicate, right? So there's lots of ways to do that. And some of the software out there can help you with that. But really, that's more of a strategic decision. How are we going to intermesh all of the different ways we communicate with people? Um, sustainability is one of the big issues I see in marketing, period, but especially from an omni-channel marketing approach. Sustainability, and what I mean by that, I'm not talking about, the green movement, eco-friendly. I'm talking about how do you sustainably deliver excellence as a business in omni-channel marketing? What are you going to do as far as, first of all, are you serious about it? Are you going to put time, energy, and money towards it? Because that's what it takes. It takes time, energy, and money. You're going to have to allocate resources to communicate, whether it's through one piece of software or a couple, right? But who is going to do that? Who's going to create this seamless communication path with people who are reaching out to you? Meaning, a lot of people get dazzled by, like, hey, I can turn on instant messaging in my Google Business Profile, but if nobody's answering it, like, people expect instant messaging to be instant. So if you're going to turn it on, you have to respond. I've had lots of clients we've taken on who have turned that on because Google was really pushing it and they made it super easy to turn on. But then, we come in and we do an audit for them and we find all these messages that have never been responded to. That's a lot of business being left on the table. So you need to be very serious about it. You need to consider what resources you're going to put towards it. And then, keep an eye on the trends. So, are people's communication patterns changing over time? Are we seeing a younger generation who wants to purchase our product or service? And if so, where are they spending time? You talked about the buyer's journey and ideal clients, right? Those are big challenges for a business. And none of this is one and done. You need to continually review, adapt, improve your strategies and how you do this. So again, it's all about how do you create a seamless and timeless communication path with prospects and clients. And so, there's privacy things you should also consider. If you're on all of these different channels and if you're retaining a lot of information, make sure you tell people that you're retaining this kind of data in order to serve them well. And of course, you can have privacy policies with all of the listings of how you do this. But you should be doing that because that's what people expect today. And if they want you to delete their information, you have to have that at your disposal as well. But those are some of the biggest challenges I see in omnichannel. It's both the technology and the people aspect that I think is most challenging to most businesses right now.
Mm-hmm.
Ian, something you said about with the Google messaging, the unfortunate reality, I think, for a lot of small businesses is that you're right. Google makes it real easy to turn it on. And if it's instant messaging, people expect it to be instant. But the reality, that's especially with the younger generation. By younger, I mean even people, 35, 40 and younger. That's what they expect. And you have to figure out a way to make that work in your business, because if that's what your customers expect, then that's what they expect. And that's the reality that we live in. And,
or just turn it off. If you can't do it,
the problem with
turn it off, right? Until you can do it.
Yeah. And that's like the conundrum, if you will, is that sure, you can turn it off, but if that's how people want to communicate with you, that's business that you just lost. Because they'll just go to a competitor. But something else you said about the software and the operational side, that's sometimes it's just knowing what questions to ask. And that's when you said like a needs analysis, if you will, because they can throw these bullet points in there about omni-channel marketing or whatever, but if you don't know what questions to ask, you're probably going to make the wrong decision. And that's where, maybe just hiring a marketing agency for an audit or review and saying, okay, if this is what you want to do, this software isn't going to do it.
Yeah, Jeff talked about APIs and webhooks, right? You don't need to know what those are, but you do need to know if your software.
Let me explain that to you.
Your marketing system might need those to speak to your practice management software or something like that, right? And if it's a closed system, you're in trouble.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good
And the
point.
cost,
Is
it shouldn't be underestimated too, that man, like it is so painful for a business to switch CRMs. So make a really good choice at the beginning if you can, or the best choice you can, right?
yeah, and if you're talking about APIs, both endpoints have to have open APIs, or it's not
Right.
going to work. If one has an open API and the other one doesn't, you're out of luck.
Yeah. Approve, Jeff?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the real challenge, like you highlighted, is the technology that's going to help you integrate it and track it all together, right? So conceptually, like I don't think anyone has an argument with the concept around omnichannel, but when it comes down to that actual delivery, right, that's really kind of the critical part, right? So having the CRM, having the marketing automation tool, having webhooks, APIs, all the kind of fancy stuff that happens on the back end that integrates those with the different tools and software packages that you're using. Getting that right is really important in order to be able to pull this off. Because otherwise, it becomes complicated really quickly, really fast, right? So I think that's kind of the part where most small businesses should probably look to professional help to say, okay, help us at least to get this set up and integrated right to begin with, and then let's go from there, figure out what we need from that point.
I think another challenge besides the tools and technology, which we've all hit on, Paul hit on a little bit about the buyer's journey again, and and Ian said people want instant messenger to be instant, and Paul hit on the platforms that they want to use. I think one of the challenges can be taking it back to the strategy, understanding the ideal client personas in the buyer's journey. You can't implement an omni-channel marketing strategy if you don't know what that looks like for the audience you're trying to serve, or the audience is. Again, a lot of businesses have several ideal client personas. And then keeping up with it changing. If you had a marketing strategy project done 5 years ago, it may be outdated. For instance, Gen Z is entering the workforce now. That means they have money to spend. Gen Z loves TikTok. So if 5 years ago they weren't even on the radar, and then TikTok isn't on your radar, or you don't think TikTok should be on your radar, maybe that needs to change. So I think also one of the challenges is keeping up with the overall strategy and the overall trends of the audiences you want to serve and what they want, because as they evolve, you need to evolve the omni-channel strategy as well. So that kind of leads us into our bonus round question. And I suspect a lot of our answers are going to be similar to this one, but where do you, real quick, where do you see omni-channel going in the future, Paul?
Well, I think that's kind of an unknown when you think about it. Where is it going to go? And that's going to depend on, like you said, about TikTok. God, we don't even know if TikTok's going to be legal in the United States a year from now. I mean, seriously, I'm not making a joke.
Yeah.
Most government organizations have already disallowed it. Like within their own ecosystem. Like if you use a computer or whatever device you're using at a government institution, they don't allow TikTok because of the security concerns.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know what platforms are going to come around, which ones are going to survive, and which ones are going to be relevant to your business. So I think it's really just a matter of staying tuned and that communication with your customers, and knowing what platforms they're on, and that's really going to dictate where you need to be with your whole omni-channel strategy. And I think Ken recorded an answer for us as well. I could play that right now.
Yeah. Did we miss any other things that Ken recorded, by the way?
No, he just did.
Okay, good.
All right, so here's what he had to say.
Okay, so in regard to where omni-channel marketing is going to be going in the future, I mean, we're already seeing it expand and take shape even a little bit today. One of the things that I think is really important is to align the physical and the digital channels. So, for example, we sell a solution that has a business card that basically will allow you to tap somebody's phone, and it will pull up either your bio page with key information, kind of what a lot of people refer to as a link tree style page, which came out of Instagram, the Instagram world, where because Instagram gave you only one single link, people created a resource page that you send people to. And so having that physical business card, tap it on somebody's phone, pull up that link to go right to that essential page that's kind of the, a simple but easy to navigate gateway to the important things that you want to convey to somebody that you just met in person, or send an email to or had a phone conversation with, is a great thing. The other thing is these cards, they've got a QR code, but also you can just tap them on the phone. And in this case, those particular cards will take people to the Google Business Profile link so they can write a Google review for that business. No need to any longer send emails or texts to make that happen. So there's definitely integration between the physical and the digital. Billboards, even if they're digital billboards, you're still seeing them physically as you're driving by. A lot of people miss the boat when they do that. So many people miss the boat when they run an ad in anywhere from those value saver coupon things that go out, advertising in a magazine or on TV. They don't integrate it effectively with digital channels so that you can, well, first of all, know that they came from that offline or physical source. And second of all, how are you going to be able to nurture them appropriately based on that? The last thing I want to say is, I think it's every business that has the type of business where people go into that business, they're missing opportunities right and left by not using their physical space to move people onto the digital world. And digital is the way that you track people. If you have a boutique, make it fun. Obviously there are easy things like selfie stations and things like that, but having QR codes that take people to fun pages, having little scavenger hunts, where people can, interact with something physically that gives them rewards digitally, is really pretty cool. I think even, text marketing in a certain sense is kind of that bridge between physical and digital, because you're getting something onto somebody's physical device on a phone. You're sending them a message and you're getting them to take action based on that message that you're delivering to their phone. So it's only going to expand. And, as I'm not even going to get into, the AI side of things. I'll let you guys talk about that. Anyway, thanks, guys.
Yeah, I think Ken mentioned the integration from physical to digital. One of the things that we have been experimenting with for a couple of clients is postcard retargeting. So people get retargeting. Somebody visits your website and then they start seeing ads online in Facebook or wherever. Postcard retargeting is they visit your website and then they get a postcard in the mail. And you can tailor that. This goes back to the omnichannel and the understanding people's interests in their journey. You can tailor the postcard they get to where they've been on your website. For instance, if you're a car dealer and they're looking at SUVs, they can get a postcard in the mail about SUVs. And if they're looking at sports cars, they get a postcard in the mail about sports cars. So you're tailoring your communications to the individual interests. Let me jump in, go around the screen as the order I've got them. Ian, where do you see omnichannel going in the future?
Yeah, I shared earlier just how excited I am about how some of the tools, especially economically viable tools, are becoming more and more accessible for I would say for marketing agencies at this point, that we're able to deliver an omni-channel approach for our clients. It's not. I would say that I haven't seen a very solid trend yet for, you know, CRMs, practice management software with omni-channel capabilities that are direct to business, meaning not having an agency in the middle. And part of that is just because it's still complex on the back end to make sure all the different pieces are working properly and that the strategy is in place, right? So I think that's a big trend that's happening. I have no doubt that all of the tools will be adding more and more capabilities over time. But you know, if you really want a good needs analysis done, you know, reach out to an agency. The other thing I get excited about is what I would call AI or artificial intelligence supplemented or supported omni-channel marketing, meaning, you know, there are tools out there and we're testing them just like everybody else, where you have, you know, instead of live chat, you have an AI chat bot, right? That's answering people's questions, and it's a smart chat bot. It learns over time. And those are very cool. There's always, at least at this point, a disconnect, right? There's always a point where, you know, somebody's like, you're an AI chatbot. Okay, can I talk to a real person, right? And that's okay. That's not a bad thing necessarily, because you're helping equip people to find the answers they want. But it's the AI supported part that I think is really exciting for businesses, because on the back end of the system, you can have AI doing stuff that will help you as a business serve these people better from a communication standpoint. So whether that's you know, AI supported responses that are that you approve to go out. There's systems like that right now, so it doesn't just automatically go out, but you know, it might craft an email response for you as a team. You look it over, you tweak it, you modify it. There's stuff like that happening right now that I think is really interesting. And as long as it helps you, it's yes, it saves you time and money, but that's not the focus. If you can keep your eye on the ball, which is how do I communicate better with people that are trying to communicate with us, I think that's the real key.
Mm-hmm. Apoorv?
Yeah, I mean, just building off of what Ian said there. So on the AI side, you know, I haven't really seen anything today like you guys were experimenting with all sorts of different AI technologies, and we have been for a few years now. But you know, if you kind of think about how AI can be used, it's already being used in a whole bunch of different ways in marketing. But where we're going with omnichannel, like it's a really good fit because there's huge amounts of data with omnichannel, like some of the stuff that we just talked about before, you know, the analytics and how can you tap into that, and AI is perfect to be able to do that. Now I don't see anyone that's actually doing that well today, but I can see that coming really quickly in the very near future. So I think you're going to start to see shift towards people using AI to mine the data and to be able to put together those omni-channel strategies, see what's working, use the AI to supplement and to make that personalization across those channels, make it easier and faster to execute. Now, I mean, we're still not at the point where I would say like let the AI, you know, take everything from the AI and copy and paste it or deliver it directly to the customer. Like I strongly advise folks away from doing that, but using AI as a supplement to speed up that process. Now it starts actually putting a whole bunch of omni-channel stuff within the realm of a lot of businesses, and particularly small businesses that maybe didn't have the resources compared to, you know, large organizations that hired entire departments to do this type of thing. And then, you know, I think the other thing that Ian mentioned and everyone else has mentioned as well coming up to this, at the end of the day, it's about creating customer centric marketing, right? So it's about your marketing become more and more centered around the customer and being able to tap into those insights that you have about the customer. And so, you know, like I said, fish where the fish are. So if in the future that means that customers are going to voice search and, you know, using more of Siri and Alexa and tools like that, or they're using wearable devices, or they're using other things. You just need to keep on top of that. So every business will need to keep on top of that. And the important thing is not necessarily to focus on the different technologies, but it's to focus on the customer and keep the
Mhm.
customer at the center of everything. If you do that, then you will always be adapting to how the customer is adapting going forward.
I think the only thing I would add on that is taking it back to, Paul mentioned we don't know a lot of things yet, what people are going to want to do, how they're going to want to get their information. We can see some coming. We can see virtual reality and augmented reality coming. So to tie in what Paul said about we don't know, and what I just said about we can see things coming, and what Apor just said, and what Ian said about the customer experience, is be mindful of how things are changing and how customers are getting their information, and then tap into that, leverage that in your omnichannel. Unless anyone else has anything to add, I think this is a good place to wrap up. We all good, guys?
The only thing I'd add is something Apor said that about AI, and this goes back to content, not specifically what he was talking about, but copying and pasting. Google has built and is building AI content detection into their algorithm. So this idea that you can just use AI to generate content and then just put that out there, no, you can't do that, because Google's going to be able to detect it.
Yeah, that might be a topic for the whole AI and search generative experience might be another topic for a future podcast. So let's wrap up here. Want to say thanks to everyone who's been on the podcast, and Ken for sending us some recordings. I appreciate your insights. Thank you to the audience for joining us today. I hope you found this valuable. If so, please use the share link, share it with other businesses, let people know who could benefit from it. And also be sure to follow us or subscribe to our podcast on any of the major podcast platforms. That's it for this week. Until next week, keep calm and market on.